Welcome back everybody to Studio Life. Time to look at another plugin, and this one I can see it coming a mile off. The controversy, the comments, the arguing, I can see it. It's all going to happen because of this plugin, which just kind of makes me laugh from the off. But anyway, I'm going to do it because, hey, that's what YouTube's all about, right? Stir up the hornet's nest and then leg it. Today, people, we are looking at something from Mixland, who make lots of lovely plugins. This is the 3348 tape. Let's find out. Is it? Oh yes, Mixland have really given us something weird here. So, as most of you know, analog tape emulations and the plugins thereof have been around for quite a while, and there's loads of them. I've reviewed plenty. God, UAD makes some really good ones. Who else makes good ones? Lots of people. Waves have made a couple. Kive have made at least one. Who else? I can't even think. Everybody's made these things. Everybody's make tape emulator plugins, and they are of varying quality and use. But most people agree that in some way they are useful for giving mix that slight flavour of being recorded in analog tape, a slight bit of that tape compression and subtle saturation that makes things just sound a bit more human. So they've become quite popular. There was a bit of a furore a few months ago when, I can't remember who it was now, I think it might have been Make Believe released the Mix Head, or whatever they called their one. The SPL Machine Head, basically. A couple of versions have come out. They did one. Plugin Alliance did the official SPL one. And that was I want to say a modelled version. It's not really modelled. It's like a digital port of the code that was in the Machine Head. The Machine Head was a box which was digital connection only and tried to simulate analog tape using digital technology. It was an early 2000s thing. Didn't really take off massively, but because Serban used one, mentioned it in an interview, suddenly everyone decides you need one or we can't do a mix. That was insanity. But anyway, I have a feeling this is going to be similar. This is taking that kind of craziness a step further. This is an emulator of digital tape. Yep, this emulates different digital tape machines. Now, right at this moment, you're either falling off your chair laughing or scratching your head. Let me explain why if you don't know why that might be. Digital tape, these things were around from the 90s, early 90s, up until, well, they're still around, I presume, but they came along to replace analog tape. It was the next step in the chain. So it was a reel-to-reel more often than not, but not always. Some of these were like video cassette style tapes, but a lot of them were reel-to-reels. But they didn't record analog signals, they recorded digital information, zeros and ones onto these tapes. And the reason they became popular was because there was a perceived step up in quality at the time. Lots of people didn't like them, but lots of people did. And also the track count started going up significantly. You could get a 48 track, or you could sync two 24 tracks together quite easily and have 48 tracks. You could sync two 48-track machines and have 96 tracks. All of a sudden, track counts were going insane because of digital tape. And there was that perceived, oh, we're working digitally. We can work in the digital domain sooner. We record to digital. We don't record to analog and then master to digital with that, as we were doing back then. We can do the whole process digitally. That's got to be good, right? We found out over time, maybe it wasn't so good. But anyway, that's why they came about. So why on earth would you want to model the sound of digital tape? Because it's ones and zeros, so there's nothing to model. That's not what this does. What this does is it models the sounds of the AD and DA converters on these machines. They did all have a sound. No one was advertising that at the time. Everyone was basically boasting and saying, ours is the cleanest digital sound you will ever get. That wasn't entirely true. Some of the early machines were 16-bit. They then became 24-bit later. They were quite crunchy. They weren't particularly clean. So these AD-DA circuits in all these different digital tape machines had a sound, and that is what this models. I'm not sure anyone's crying out for that. I've not heard anybody say, oh, I want to recreate the sound of my old Tascam DA88. I really miss it. I've never heard that in my life, but maybe it has a place. Anyway, let's get into it. Stop laughing. Stop laughing. We're going to get into this seriously. So, as you can see from the look of it, it still looks like a traditional tape machine. And yes, if you click on the reels, they do go round. Whoopie-doo. You get a bit of a clue that this is digital from the 80s style digital, LCD display down here. The main thing, this is called the 3348, and it's based on the Sony 3348, which was a 16-bit 48-track digital reel-to-reel recorder. We can then flip it into the 3348HR, which was the next one up, which was the 24-bit 48-track. It could also be the X80, which was the Mitsubishi 2-track mastering digital reel-to-reel. It can also be the Sony. It can be, well, they call it the 601, but it's basically a Sony F1. It can also be the 701, which was another version of the Sony F1. These were digital tape recorders that used Betamax tapes with a processing box made by Sony. It can also sound like a Tascam DA88. There must be some of you around that still remember them. That wasn't that long ago. 25 years ago, maybe. And lastly, it can emulate the 1630, which was a Sony PCM 1630 digital recorder. It was kind of like a digital recorder in a box. I'm not sure there was tape in the box. Maybe there was. Barely remember them. Anyway, that's what it does. It has some interesting things. So as you can see here, we have an EQ. So it's not just you get what you get. You can mess around with the EQ slightly. It's not huge, but you've got a little bit of tonal adjustment. You can turn emphasis on or off. You can set the frequency response of the emphasis. You can change the bias, and you can turn a limiter on or off. You can then drive the input. It's a really interesting one. You're not driving tape, you're driving the AD. You can also drive the DA if you push the output. There is a mix control, and it's got oversampling, and it has some presets, not many. Have a listen to the demo. It did surprise me quite a bit. It's actually quite a usable sound. I'm not sure I love it, but it kind of works. And maybe if you're trying to get a slightly different sound for an album, or maybe just a track, it could be worth having a look at. I'm not sure it's going to get loads of use, but it's interesting. Right. What else should we mention? I was going to mention the fact that another reason these were so attractive to studios back in the day over analog 24-track machines, which is what they replaced, is that the analog 24-track machines used 2-inch tape, and back then they were like 90 to 100 quid a reel. You got 20 minutes on it. So, if you're doing an album, you need a whole bunch of those. That's expensive. All of these digital things, they're just recording zeros and ones, so the tape was much smaller. These were nearly all 1/4-inch machines, so the tapes were a lot cheaper. And then, as I say, the Sony F1 system, DA88s, they all used little cassette things, which were, again, cheaper still. It ended up you could go and buy them in shops. You didn't have to go to a specialist tape supplier. So it was cheaper media, which, when you're running a professional studio, that's a big thing. Anyway, demo-wise, 7 days. It's not 14 days, it's half that, but hey, it's enough, it'll do. Price-wise, regular price, $49.99. It's not terrible for a plug-in, that's about right, I think. At the moment in the sale, $37.99, that's pretty good. Star rating, I'm going to go 3. Just because I think it's interesting. I'm not sure you're going to use it much. You might use it on one thing and then not open it ever again. And limited use, I would say. Go and have a listen to the demo. It's definitely more interesting than it first might appear. That's all I've got to say about that. Anyway, if you could like the video, that really helps. If you could subscribe to the channel, that helps even more. There's the Instagram, which is Mixdown Mastering. Go and see what I get up to in the studio every week. There's also the website, Studio Life website, where we've got the top 5 plugins and a whole bunch of stuff going on there. There's courses on mixing and mastering and loads of other stuff. Anyway, I will see you next time. Take it easy, people. Adios.
You're calling my